Hi everyone, it's Drew from OnTheMountainFilms, and welcome to your first Java tutorial in my new object-oriented programming series. If you didn't see the intro, this series is going to go from the very basics of Java all the way into very complex objects, classes, making programs that can do many functions and very complex functions as well. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be talking about how to create your first project, and we're also going to be creating a first sample program. So if you just want to open up NetBeans, and if you do not have NetBeans already installed on your computer, I also have another video on my channel that I'll put a link in the description for, and I'll show you how to install it in just a few minutes, and you'll be up and running in no time. So when NetBeans is up, you want to come up here and click the New Project button. It looks like a little gray box. Make sure that you have Java selected and then Java Application. Click Next, and it'll prompt you for a name and a location to save it, and you can just leave that as the default. And then you click Finish, and NetBeans will create this nice class file for you and bring it up onto your screen. Now this class file is the basically the main file of your whole Java program. In this class, all your code that is needed to run the program, you have to have references to it or place it in here, and so that it can be run. As you can see, we have the public class here, and we have these brackets which surround all of the inner content. Now for Java, every type of it is divided by brackets to separate the code and make it more easily readable, both for the computer and for human readers as well. So within our class, we have our public main method. Now this is the method where anything that you want to run in your program will be put. We'll find out later that you do not need to put all of your code in here, but you just need to reference code in here so that you can get your project or your program running. But anything that you want to run initially when you run this program needs to be in here. And let's break down a little bit about what this whole method is. And if you're confused about what a method is, it's kind of like a function in math, except as with a function, you sometimes need to put arguments in, which would be what this string is right here, which we don't need to worry about. This is for the command line. But there are also methods that do not require these arguments, but just run and do a certain task. So basically, methods just help to divide up code and group functionality, and so that it makes it easier to program later. So if we look here, we have this public declaration right here, and basically what this means is that this main method can be accessed publicly, and there's that anything can access it to run. There are also two other identifiers for this, which would be private and protected. We'll talk a little bit more about those later in the series and why they're useful, especially for security and creating really tight code. And next we see static, which basically means that there's only one copy of main ever. No matter how many times you run this program and create instances of it, and an instance is just a program that has been run or that has been created. So no matter how many times you've run it, this main method will always be, there'll only be one of them, and it'll just be referenced in every single instance. Next we have void, which basically just says that this method will not return any information. You could create methods that return numbers and return data so that you can pass things around throughout your program and do operations easily. Next we have main, which is just the name of the method, and generally for naming methods you start out with lowercase first letter, and any word after that you capitalize. And that's just general style for writing Java code, and it's just one of the ways that everything is consistent. And if you notice up here for naming classes, we always capitalize the first letter for each word. So don't get that confused with any methods like that. Alright, so now that we've talked a little bit about how this class is laid out, let's go in here and make this program do something. So first, if you read the chapter, you might be familiar with this. I'm going to type system.out.println. Okay. And this is basically a printing method that allows this program, when it's run, to print out text or any information out to the user. And you wouldn't see this if you're creating a graphical program like how NetBeans is a window. You wouldn't use that function for that. But this is basically for if you're running in the command prompt, it'll show you this information. So let's break this down. We see that we've got the system class. This is a system class which contains the println method. And notice that I have this S capitalized. And, Java is a case-sensitive language, so I can't just have this lowercase because it'll give me an error because it won't understand what I'm talking about. But I have to have it capitalized. And same with everything else in Java, such as this class or this main method right here. If I was going to call that, you'd have to have it as a lowercase as well. This is right next we have this println, which is just basically the method that you're using. And this can change. There's just normal print, and there are many methods that you can choose from in the system class, but this is the one I'm going to be using right now. And this difference between print and println would be that println always creates it breaks down every time you print out, so it creates a nice organized output. Okay, so then inside println it takes a parameter, and this is just a string or variable that contains a number or a string. So I'm going to type in here hello, if I can spell, hello world. Okay, and notice how I keep this. Anytime you put string data in, you want to surround it with quotation marks to identify that as a string. If I were to take these out, it would give me an error for A, for having a space, and B, if I took this space out, this would be looking like a variable to this println method, but seeing as how I never declared a variable up here, which we'll be talking about declaring variables in the next tutorial, but since I didn't declare it beforehand, it'll give me an error saying that it was not found. So every time you enter a string, you're gonna have to put quotation marks around it. And then lastly, at the end of the line, we have the semicolon. And basically what this says is that when it's reading this program, this semicolon just means, oh, we're at the end of the line, and we just then all of this code is done being run, and it can go down to the next section of code. So let's save this and run it and see what happens. And then, as you can see, we've got hello world right here, and now we have a program that does something. I'll show you some other methods that we can use to print out. Let's say I wanted to do print, just regular print, and I'll show you how this works. And then I'll do another one just to show you how it's formatted. Okay, and always remember to put the semicolons at the end of the line. Can't stress that importance, because otherwise your whole program will not run properly. Okay, and let's run it. And as you can see, here we got hello world, YouTube, hello, and Java is fun. And see how the last two print methods, they just print right on top of each other with no formatting whatsoever. And that's why you'll often see me using the print line method, because it just makes a nice cleaner output that is much more readable, especially when you're doing long text without any breaks. So that's all I have for you guys for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we're going to talk a little bit more about creating programs in Java. We're going to talk about using variables and the primitive types, and being able to do a little bit of if statements and other things like that, so we can add a little bit more functionality to our program. So until then, see you later.